Most people think courage means having no fear, but the truth is, real courage is doing what must be done, while your hands are still shaking. You don't wait for the perfect moment, you create it. Every choice you make in the silence of the morning becomes the foundation of your discipline. Stay with me until the end, because the final words may change the way you face everything. We often speak of courage as if it is the opposite of fear, as if the goal is to one day arrive at a place where fear no longer exists. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of our own nature. Fear is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is a messenger. It is a form of energy within the body, a primal intelligence that is designed to protect us, to keep us safe. The problem is not the fear itself, but our relationship to it. We have learned to fight it, to resist it, to feel shame for it. And in this fight, we give it all of its power. Imagine a small fire. It can provide warmth, light, but if you pour fuel on it in an attempt to put it out, it will only grow into an inferno. Our resistance, our panic, our stories of what if are the fuel we pour onto the natural, manageable spark of fear. The first step toward courage is not to fight, but to change this relationship entirely. It is to learn to sit with the messenger, to listen to what it is truly saying without becoming overwhelmed by the noise of our own reaction. The true practice begins when you can separate the physical sensation from the mental story. A challenge appears and the body responds. The heart beats faster, the palms might sweat, the stomach tightens. This is simply the body preparing for action. It is neutral, it is just energy. But then the mind jumps in. The mind, with its library of past pains and future anxieties, begins to weave a narrative. This is too much. I will fail. I will be judged. I will lose everything. This story is the source of suffering. It is the narrative that paralyzes us. Courage is the ability to feel the raw energy of fear in the body and yet not believe the story the mind is telling. It is to create a space between the sensation and the interpretation. In that space lies your freedom. It is the space where you can choose a different response, a response born not of panic, but of clarity. To understand fear is to become a curious observer of your own inner world. It is to greet the sensation with a gentle, "I see you," without judgment or resistance. This is not weakness. This is profound strength. It is the foundation upon which all true courage is built. When we begin to look closely, we see that fear is almost always about the future or the past. It is a projection, a ghost. The mind leaves the present moment, the only place where we have any real power, and travels to a future that does not yet exist, imagining all the things that could go wrong. Or it travels to the past, replaying old wounds and failures, and projecting them onto the current situation. The courageous act is to gently but firmly bring your awareness back to the here and now. What is actually happening in this moment? Not in 5 minutes, not tomorrow, not what happened 10 years ago. Right now, in this breath. Can you feel your feet on the floor? Can you feel the air entering and leaving your body? This is real. The fearful story is a fantasy. By anchoring yourself in the present, you cut off the fuel supply to the fear. You are no longer feeding the ghost. You are standing in the solid ground of reality. And from this place, you can see the path forward. It may not be an easy path, but it is a real one, and you can take the first step. This is not a quick fix. It is a lifelong practice, a form of inner cultivation. We have spent years, lifetimes perhaps, reinforcing the habit of reacting to fear with more fear. To build a new habit of mindful observation requires patience and self-compassion. There will be days when the story is too powerful, when the fear overwhelms you. On these days, the courageous act is simply to be kind to yourself, to recognize that you are human and that this is part of the journey. There is no failure in this practice, only learning. Each time you notice you are lost in a fearful story and you gently bring yourself back, you are strengthening the muscle of awareness. You are rewiring your own mind. You are teaching yourself moment by moment that you are not your fear. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which the fear is allowed to arise, be seen, and pass away, like a cloud moving through the vastness of the sky. This is the beginning of inner freedom. This is the quiet soil from which the mighty tree of courage grows. It starts not with a roar, but with a whisper of acceptance. Facing resistance. All growth in life, whether in the physical body or in the spirit, comes from meeting and overcoming resistance. Yet our natural tendency is to avoid it at all costs. Resistance manifests as discomfort. It is the strain in the muscle when you are training. It is the awkwardness of a difficult conversation. It is the frustration of not understanding something new. It is the fear that rises when you step outside of your comfort zone. Our mind, in its desire to maintain equilibrium and conserve energy, screams at us to stop, to retreat, to go back to what is familiar and safe. Courage is not the absence of this inner voice of resistance. It is the willingness to move forward anyway. It is hearing the voice that says, "This is too hard," and replying with a quiet, determined action that says, "I will try." It is understanding that the very feeling of resistance is a signpost. It is pointing directly to the area where your next growth lies. If you only ever do what feels easy, you will never expand. You will live in a very small, comfortable room, but you will never know the vastness of the world that exists just outside the door. Think of a river. When a river encounters a large boulder, it does not stop. It does not smash itself against the rock in frustration. It yields, it flows around it. It finds the path of least resistance, not in a way that is weak, but in a way that is intelligent and persistent. The water's softness eventually wears away the hardest stone. We often think that facing resistance means we have to become hard, rigid, and forceful. But true courage is often found in this yielding, this flexibility. When we meet resistance in our lives, a difficult person, a challenging project, an unexpected setback, our first instinct is to tense up, to fight, to force our will upon the situation. This creates immense friction and suffering. The courageous and wise approach is to be like the water, to pause, to observe the obstacle without judgment, and to ask, where is the opening? How can I adapt? How can I flow with this situation instead of fighting against it? This does not mean giving up. It means being smart. It means preserving your energy for what truly matters, and not wasting it on a futile battle against the unchangeable nature of reality. This internal battle is where most of our energy is lost. The external challenge is one thing, but the internal resistance we create is often a far greater burden. We resist the fact that things are difficult. We tell ourselves, this shouldn't be happening, or this isn't fair. This layer of mental commentary, this non-acceptance of what is the root of so much of our exhaustion and despair. The courageous act of facing resistance then begins with radical acceptance. It is to look at the difficult situation and say, this is what is. No judgment, no story, just a clear seeing of the reality of the moment. From this place of acceptance, you are no longer fighting with yourself. All of your energy becomes available to deal with the external situation effectively. You are no longer a house divided. You are whole. This acceptance is not passive resignation. It is an empowered stance. It is the necessary first step before any intelligent action can be taken. You cannot find your way out of a forest if you refuse to accept that you are in it. So the practice becomes one of noticing your own internal no. Noticing the tightening in your body, the clenching of your jaw, the argumentative thoughts in your mind when things are not going your way. This is your signal. This is your opportunity to practice. In that moment, can you consciously choose to soften? Can you breathe into the tension and let it go? Can you drop the story of how things should be and simply be with how they are? This is an act of immense courage. It is the courage to be vulnerable, to be open, to meet life on its own terms. It is a quiet, internal revolution. And what you find is that when you stop resisting life, life stops resisting you. The obstacles that seemed so insurmountable begin to look smaller. Solutions that were invisible before suddenly appear. By yielding, you become more powerful. By accepting, you become free to act. By facing your own inner resistance, you develop a strength that cannot be shaken by any external storm. This is the way of the wise warrior, the path of gentle strength, inner stillness. In a world that constantly demands our attention, that pulls us in 1,000 different directions, the most courageous act can be to do nothing, to be still. This is not an empty, passive stillness. It is a state of profound alertness, a deep inner quiet from which all wise and powerful action arises. imagine a glass of water filled with mud. If you shake it and try to see through it, you see nothing but turmoil. The more you agitate it, the more cloudy it becomes. This is the state of a mind caught in fear, anger, and anxiety. Any action taken from this state will only create more confusion and chaos. But if you place the glass on a table and allow it to be still, the mud will slowly, naturally settle to the bottom. The water will become clear, and then you can see right through it. Our mind is this glass of water. The practice of cultivating inner stillness is the practice of allowing the mud of our turbulent thoughts and emotions to settle so that the clarity of our true nature can emerge. Courage born from this clarity is not reckless or impulsive. It is precise, effective, and calm. How do we find this stillness in the midst of life's storms? The gateway is always here with us in this very moment. It is the breath. The breath is the ultimate anchor to the present. Your thoughts can drag you into the future or the past. Your emotions can surge and swirl, but your breath is only ever happening right now. When you feel overwhelmed, when the water is murky, the simple instruction is to come back to the breath. Feel the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and the gentle release as you exhale. Do not try to change it, just observe it. This simple act of focused attention is incredibly powerful. It is a declaration to your agitated mind that you are choosing where to place your awareness. You are choosing stillness over turmoil. Each conscious breath is a moment of practice, a moment of returning home to the quiet center of your being. This center is always there, beneath the surface noise. It is your birthright. It is the source of your unshakable strength. From this place of inner stillness, your perception of the world changes. You begin to see things as they are, not as your fears or desires color them. A difficult person is no longer a villain. They are a person who is likely suffering themselves. A failure is no longer a catastrophe. It is a lesson, a piece of feedback that is guiding you toward a better path. When the inner world is quiet, you can hear the subtle whispers of intuition. You gain a sense of what is the right action to take and when is the right time to take it. This is a very different kind of knowing than intellectual analysis. It is a felt sense, a deep, embodied wisdom that arises from a settled mind. The courage that comes from this place is not aggressive. It does not need to shout. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you are aligned with something deeper than your own ego. It is the courage to speak the truth with kindness, to act with integrity, and to remain centered even when the world around you is in chaos. This is a skill that must be cultivated daily. You cannot wait for the storm to hit to learn how to find your anchor. You must practice in the calm. Find a few minutes each day, perhaps in the morning before the world rushes in, to simply sit in stillness. Close your eyes, connect with your breath, and allow the mud to settle. Do not fight your thoughts. Let them come and go like clouds in the sky. Your only task is to gently return your attention again and again to the anchor of your breath. Think of it as charging a battery. Each moment of stillness deposits a small amount of peace, clarity, and resilience into your nervous system. Then, when life presents you with a challenge, you have this inner resource to draw upon. You will not be so easily shaken. You will be able to access that clear water, that quiet space, from which you can respond with wisdom, compassion, and true courage. This is the art of mastering the self. It is the most important skill you will ever develop. Body's wisdom. We often think of courage as a quality of the mind, a mental decision to be brave. But we forget that the mind and the body are not separate. They are one integrated system. Your body is the physical expression of your mind, and it holds a profound wisdom that we have often learned to ignore. Every fear you have ever felt, every stress you have carried, every unresolved emotion has left an imprint in your physical tissues. It can be found in the chronic tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the shallow nature of your breath. Your body is a living history book of your life's experiences. To cultivate true courage, we must learn to read this book. We must learn to listen to the subtle language of our own body. It is constantly speaking to us, offering us guidance and information. The journey to courage is a journey back into the body. The physical practices, such as the movements and postures found in Gong Fu or yoga, are not just for building physical strength. They are a method for training the mind through the vessel of the body. When you hold a difficult posture, you are not just stretching a muscle. You are training your ability to stay present with discomfort. You are learning to breathe through resistance. You are observing the mind's desire to quit and consciously choosing to stay a moment longer. This is courage in its most practical embodied form. Each time you do this, you are carving new neural pathways. You are teaching your nervous system that you can handle stress, that you are resilient. The strength, flexibility, and balance you develop on the mat or in your training area translate directly into your daily life. You become more resilient to emotional stress, more flexible in your thinking, and more balanced in your responses to challenges. You are literally embodying courage. Start by paying attention. Throughout your day, take moments to do a gentle scan of your body. Where are you holding tension? Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders creeping up toward your ears? Is your stomach in a knot? You do not need to judge it or even understand why it is there. The first step is simply to notice. This act of noticing, of bringing kind awareness to a tense part of your body, is often enough to begin the process of release. When you notice tension, consciously invite it to soften. Take a deep breath and imagine you are sending the breath directly to that area, creating space and ease. This is a practice of self-compassion and self-regulation. It is you taking an active role in managing your own inner state. This is a fundamental skill for courage, because a body that is locked in a state of chronic tension is a body that is perpetually in a state of low-grade fear. A relaxed, open body is a foundation for a calm and courageous mind. Your body also tells you what is true for you. We call it a gut feeling for a reason. There is an intelligence in your body that often knows the right path long before your rational mind can figure it out. When you are faced with a decision, notice how your body responds to each option. Does one choice make you feel expansive, open, and light? Does another make you feel constricted, heavy, and tense? Learn to trust these signals. This is not some magical thinking. It is your nervous system processing millions of bits of information that are beneath the level of your conscious awareness. To have the courage to follow your intuition, you must first learn to hear it. And you hear it by becoming quiet enough to listen to the subtle wisdom of your own physical being. Reconnecting with your body is not a side project on the path to courage. It is the path itself. Your body is your wisest teacher, your most honest friend, and the home of the quiet, unshakable strength you seek. True action. There is a great misunderstanding in our culture between action and busyness. We are often encouraged to be constantly doing, moving, producing. We mistake this frantic activity for progress. But much of this busyness is simply an escape. It is a way to avoid feeling what we need to feel or facing what we need to face. It is a distraction from the quiet, sometimes uncomfortable work of inner cultivation. True action, the kind of action that is born of courage, is very different. It is not necessarily big or loud or dramatic. Often, it is small, quiet, and deliberate. It is purposeful. It arises from a place of clarity and stillness, not from a place of anxious reactivity. The courage lies not in the size of the action, but in the quality of awareness from which it originates. A single conscious breath taken in a moment of panic can be a more courageous act than 1,000 busy tasks performed on autopilot. Before taking action, especially when facing a significant challenge, the most courageous first step is to pause. The impulse is to rush, to fix, to do something immediately to alleviate the discomfort of the situation. But this haste is usually driven by fear. By pausing, you create a sacred space, a space to breathe, a space to let the mud settle, a space to connect with your inner stillness and wisdom. In this space, you can ask better questions. Instead of how do I get out of this, you can ask, what does this situation require of me right now? Or what is the most compassionate and wise step I can take? The answer that arises from this quiet inquiry will be very different from the solution offered by a panicked mind. It will be more grounded, more aligned with your deeper values, and ultimately far more effective. This pause is not a sign of hesitation or weakness. It is a sign of profound strength and self-mastery. It is the discipline of the warrior who waits for the perfect moment to act. True action is also about taking the next right step, not about trying to figure out the entire journey at once. Fear often paralyzes us because we look at the enormous distance between where we are and where we want to be. The mountain seems too high to climb. The courageous approach is to bring your focus down from the distant peak and onto the ground directly in front of you. What is the one small thing you can do right now that will move you, even if by an inch, in the right direction? Can you make that phone call you have been dreading? Can you write the first sentence of that difficult email? Can you put on your shoes and go for a 5-minute walk? The journey of 1,000 miles truly does begin with a single step. By focusing on that one step, you make the task manageable. You bypass the mind's tendency to become overwhelmed. And as you take that one step, you build momentum. The next step becomes a little easier. Courage is not a giant leap in the dark. It is a series of small illuminated steps, taken one after the other. This principle applies to all areas of life, from healing a relationship to building a new skill. Do not be intimidated by the magnitude of the goal. Be humble enough to focus on the process. The courage is in showing up today and doing the small, unglamorous work that is required. It is in the consistency, the discipline, the gentle persistence. When you focus on the process, the results take care of themselves. You detach your self-worth from the outcome and instead find fulfillment in the integrity of your effort. This is a profound shift. It frees you from the anxiety of success or failure and allows you to simply engage with life as it unfolds. This is true action. It is mindful, purposeful, and sustainable. It is the way you build a life of courage and meaning, not through grand gestures, but through the accumulated power of thousands of small, conscious choices made with a clear mind and an open heart. Daily practice. Courage is not a personality trait that some people are born with and others are not. It is not something you find once and then possess forever. It is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows stronger with consistent practice and atrophies from neglect. You would not expect to go to the gym once and be strong for the rest of your life. In the same way, you cannot expect to have one moment of bravery and be courageous forever. The cultivation of courage is a daily affair. It is woven into the fabric of your ordinary moments. It is a gongfu, a skill that is acquired through patient, dedicated, and repeated effort over time. The power lies not in the intensity of any single session, but in the unwavering consistency of the practice itself. It is the gentle dripping of water that eventually wears away the hardest stone. The training ground for courage is your everyday life. It is not found only on a mountaintop or in a monastery. It is found in how you choose to respond when someone cuts you off in traffic. It is found in the moment you choose to listen with empathy instead of reacting with anger during a disagreement. It is found when you feel the pull of procrastination but choose to do the difficult task anyway. Each of these small moments is an opportunity, a rep in the gym of character development. When you begin to see your life this way, as a continuous training ground, everything changes. Annoyances become opportunities to practice patience. Challenges become opportunities to practice resilience. Fears become opportunities to practice presence. Life itself becomes your teacher, and every experience is a lesson designed to help you grow stronger and wiser. A crucial part of this daily practice is setting an intention. When you wake up in the morning, before you pick up your phone or get lost in the day's demands, take a few moments to set a clear intention. It could be as simple as, today, I will meet challenges with a calm mind. Or today, I will practice kindness toward myself and others. Or today, when I feel fear, I will pause and breathe. This simple act orients your mind. It gives you a compass for the day. It is like setting the rudder of a ship before you set sail. Throughout the day, you can then gently remind yourself of this intention. It becomes a touchstone that you can return to, helping you to stay on course when the winds of habit or emotion try to blow you in a different direction. This conscious intentionality is the difference between living on autopilot and living a life of purpose and courage. Be patient with yourself. This is a practice, not a performance. There is no perfection to be achieved. There will be many days when you forget your intention, when you react from old habits, when you feel you have failed. The most courageous act on those days is to practice self-compassion. It is to notice your failure without judgment and to simply begin again. The master is not the one who never falls. The master is the one who gets up one more time than they have fallen. Your willingness to begin again with a gentle and forgiving heart is the very essence of this practice. So do not be discouraged. Celebrate the small victories. Acknowledge the effort. Trust the process. Through this steady, humble, and compassionate daily practice, you are slowly and surely transforming yourself from the inside out. You are building a foundation of inner strength that will support you through all of life's inevitable storms. This is the path of sustainable courage. Embracing change. One of the deepest sources of our fear and resistance is our attachment to how things are or how we wish them to be. We crave certainty and stability in a universe that is defined by constant change and impermanence. We try to hold on to pleasant moments, push away unpleasant ones, and build rigid structures in our lives, hoping to create a fortress against the natural flow of life. But this is like trying to build a dam in the middle of a great river. It is a futile struggle that creates immense pressure and anxiety. True courage is found not in resisting change, but in learning to embrace it. It is the courage to loosen our grip, to accept the transient nature of all things, and to learn to dance with the rhythm of life instead of fighting against it. It is to understand that security is not found in a static external situation, but in our own internal ability to adapt. Think of a great old tree. It appears solid and unmoving, a symbol of strength, but its strength does not come from rigidity. If the tree were perfectly rigid, it would snap in the first strong wind. Its strength comes from its flexibility. It bends with the wind. Its roots are deep, but its branches are supple. In the same way, a courageous person is not one who is rigid in their beliefs or plans. They are deeply rooted in their values and their inner stillness, but they are also flexible and adaptable on the surface. They understand that plans will change, expectations will be unmet, and life will present unexpected turns. Instead of being shattered by these changes, they bend, they adapt, they find new ways to grow toward the light. This flexibility is not weakness, it is a sign of deep, resilient strength. It is the wisdom of knowing that the only constant in life is change itself. The practice of embracing change begins with letting go of the small things. Notice your frustration when your plans are disrupted in a minor way. A traffic jam, a cancelled appointment, a rainy day. Can you use these small moments as training? Can you practice accepting the new reality without internal complaint? Can you see it not as a problem, but simply as what is happening now? By practicing with these small disruptions, you build the mental and emotional muscle for handling the larger, more significant changes in life. The loss of a job, the end of a relationship, a health crisis. You are training yourself to meet reality as it is, which frees up an enormous amount of energy that was previously wasted on resistance and complaint. This liberated energy can then be used to respond to the new situation with creativity, resourcefulness, and grace. Ultimately, the courage to embrace change is rooted in a deep trust. It is a trust in the process of life itself, and a trust in your own ability to handle whatever comes your way. You may not know what the future holds, and this uncertainty can be frightening, but you can know yourself. You can cultivate your own inner resources, your stillness, your resilience, your compassion, your wisdom. This is the only true security. It is not an external guarantee that nothing bad will happen. It is the internal certainty that you have the capacity to meet any experience with a clear mind and an open heart. When you have this inner foundation, you no longer need to fear the unknown. You can step into the future with a sense of curiosity and even adventure, ready to learn and grow from whatever life brings. This is the freedom that comes from embracing change. It is the courage to live fully in a world that is always beautifully in motion. Unseen strength. We have spoken of fear, resistance, stillness, and action. But all of these point toward one final central truth. The ultimate journey of courage is not outward, but inward. The greatest dragons we must face are not in the world, but within our own minds. The most profound courage is the courage to face yourself, completely and honestly, without turning away. It is the courage to look into the mirror and see not just the parts you like, but also your own shadow, your insecurities, your judgments, your anger, your greed. It is to see these parts not as enemies to be destroyed, but as wounded parts of yourself that are in need of understanding and compassion. This is the most difficult work there is, and it is also the most rewarding, because the person who has the courage to befriend their own inner world is truly unconquerable. No external event can shake a foundation that is built on such radical self-acceptance. This is the final and most powerful insight. This unseen strength is not about being perfect. It is about being whole. It is about integrating all the disparate parts of yourself into a unified being. It requires you to stop pretending, to yourself and to others. It requires you to be vulnerable enough to admit when you are wrong, when you are hurt, when you do not know the answer. In a world that rewards us for projecting an image of confidence and control, this vulnerability is an act of supreme courage. It is an act of truth. And what you discover is that this authenticity is magnetic. It creates deep, meaningful connections with others because it gives them permission to be real as well. The strength that comes from this is not a hard, brittle strength. It is a soft, resilient strength. It is the quiet, unshakable power of a person who is at peace with who they are. The path to this inner integration is through mindful self-observation. It is the practice of watching your own thoughts and emotions without getting entangled in them. You watch the arising of anger, not as I am angry, but as I see the sensation of anger in me now. You watch the thought of self-criticism, not as a truth, but as, there is that old story again. This subtle shift in perspective from being the thought to being the witness of the thought is the key that unlocks everything. It creates a space of freedom. In this space, you are no longer a slave to your own conditioned patterns. You have a choice. You can choose to believe the thought, or you can choose to let it go. You can choose to react from the emotion, or you can choose to respond from the quiet stillness that lies beneath it. Every time you make that conscious choice, you are reclaiming your power. You are strengthening your true self. This is the courage we are all seeking. It is not the courage to be fearless, but the courage to be fully human. It is the strength to hold your own pain with compassion, to face your own darkness with light, and to meet the ever-changing dance of life with an open and loving heart. It does not shout its name. It is a quiet inner resolve. It is the unseen strength that allows you to walk through fire and not be burned, because you have learned to befriend the flame within. This strength is already inside you. It is not something you need to acquire. It is something you need only to uncover. It is your true nature. The entire practice is simply about removing the layers of fear and conditioning that have obscured it. The path is not easy, but it is yours to walk, and within you, right now, is all the strength you will ever need. I've been paralyzed by anxiety for so long, feeling like something was fundamentally wrong with me. This video felt like a gentle hand on my shoulder. The part about courage, not being about fighting fear, but changing your relationship to it, that just shattered a lifetime of struggle in my mind. The idea of being a curious observer instead of a panicked victim is a shift I can actually practice. Thank you for this profound guidance. It feels like I can finally breathe again.